Hello and welcome, Adam Thomas from Balancing Touch Reflexology. So good to see you and thanks for joining me today. Today I want to cover and answer, hopefully, some recent questions that I've gotten about pregnancy. Can you work on somebody who's pregnant? I know you're supposed to avoid ankle points. What are those points and so forth? So I want to just cover the broad topic of pregnancy and working on the feet. Can you do it? So before I jump right in and talk about and answer the questions as best that I can, I had to do some research on this because I myself was curious as to why can't we work on ankle points, right? I was taught a certain way, and just to sort of put this out there, number one, I don't specialize in fertility. This is not my area of focus and expertise. Secondly, what I was taught. So the first trimester can be a little bit dicey, and also just before labor, right? Can be a little bit dicey. My instructor said, yeah, go for it, work on it, but just have some precautionary things, meaning like filling out the intake form, right? And then number 3 point here is, so I had to do some research because I wasn't really sure as to why out there's this belief, this myth, this, has been passed down to other people other than even reflexologists, right? I get clients coming all the time going, and same as these questions that I got on YouTube, right? Like, why, I know I can work on the feet, but there's some ankle points that I need to avoid. And so what are these, right? So first of all, let's just go over the ankle points. Okay, so what we're talking about here are the reproductive organs, okay? And they're found in the ankles here, at least by the reflexology that I do. So they're found right there. This would be like the ovaries, and then up and around here to the inside, this would be where the uterus area is, okay? So what I was taught was overstimulation of these is probably not great, okay? When I was doing my little bit of research here, I came across a bunch of about 5 points why the decision to avoid working on ankle points in reflexology during pregnancy is often based on caution and traditional practices. Here are some reasons why practitioners might choose to avoid these points. So I'm just going to read kind of the little bit of research that I did. So number 1 is the stimulation of uterine contractions. In reflexology, acupuncture, and massage, certain points on the ankle are believed to correspond to reproductive organs, including the uterus. Stimulating these points could potentially trigger uterine contractions, which might pose risk to premature labor or miscarriage, especially during early stages of the pregnancy. Number 2, lack of research. While these modalities have been used for centuries and are generally considered safe for most individuals, there is limited scientific research specifically addressing the effects on pregnant women. Due to the lack of conclusive evidence regarding the safety of working on ankle points during pregnancy, practitioners may choose to err on the side of caution. Okay? Number 3, individual variability. Every pregnant woman's body is unique, and what may be safe for one woman could potentially cause discomfort or adverse effects in another. Given the variability in individual responses, practitioners may opt to avoid working on the ankle points altogether to minimize any potential risk. So number 4 is precautionary measures. Many practitioners adhere to professional guidelines and standards of practice to prioritize the safety and well-being of their clients, particularly pregnant women. As such, they may have established protocols that include avoiding certain reflexology, acupuncture, and massage points during pregnancy to reduce the risk of adverse outcomes. And then number 5 is patient preference, okay? So some pregnant women may prefer to avoid certain types of stimulation, especially if they are concerned about potential risks to themselves or their baby. Practitioners may respect their clients' preferences and concerns by refraining from working on the ankle points during pregnancy. Well, avoiding ankle points during pregnancy is a common practice. It's essential for pregnant women to communicate openly with their healthcare providers and complementary therapy practitioners about specific needs and concerns. Ultimately, decisions regarding the use of massage, acupuncture, and reflexology during pregnancy should be made on an individual basis, taking into account the woman's overall health, medical history, and preferences. So as you can see from the research, there is no definite yes or no answer here. Maybe a lot of this came from reflexologists, and in their practices have found that overstimulation might have caused adverse, effects, right? Things like that. But I think the most important thing is filling out the intake form and finding out how the pregnancy is going, right? I think that's more important, because then you can decide if, overstimulation on certain parts of the foot might not be beneficial for them, right? So questions like, first of all, are they pregnant? Okay. Second, if yes, have they had, another pregnancy before, right? And how was that? Maybe they have a history of problems getting pregnant, problems keeping the baby, right? Miscarriages. Just how is their pregnancy going? Are they feeling okay? Are they, is anything unstable about the pregnancy or past pregnancies, right? That will determine if you need to work on the points or not. And as an aside here, which I'll talk more about when I answer the actual direct questions I got, is like, there's so much more to work on the feet, right? We're just talking about a couple points around the ankle, and if you just don't do them, you don't need to. There's so many other things that you can work on. If we're just talking about this fear around these ankle points, it shouldn't be that scary, right? Like for myself and the way that I was taught is, I mentioned it before, but in the first trimester, be a little bit cautious, and then also if they're premature babies, if they have a history of that as well. I didn't mention that before, but there you go. My teacher just said, you don't need to be afraid of all that stuff, because she said something that was really kind of made sense to me. And reflexology is meant to, and its focus is meant to normalize, to help the body, get rid of stress and just relax and things like that. So just by pushing a couple ankle points causes something like a miscarriage, there's something that's probably was going to happen anyway in, the nature of the pregnancy. On the other side of things too, you don't want to be directly responsible if, there's some kind of issue there with the baby and the mom and kind of the topic of miscarriage. You just don't want to be like, okay, they came for reflexology and then they had a miscarriage. As a reflexologist, you don't want to be the cause of it, even though probably you were not. Avoiding the ankle points, then you can kind of say, oh, well, I didn't work on those points if something does happen, right? So that's also, I think, a cautionary thing that has been put into, I forget what point it was, but I think number 3 or something, being protocols that were passed down in reflexology, just to keep the practitioner safe, and also allow the client to feel more safe, that you're not going to overstimulate something, right? So anyway, that's just a little aside. Okay, so let's get into finally answering the question here. So here's the question. My name is Sam. I came across your YouTube channel. I loved your videos. I checked out your website and got a free online course, which is the Desserts, which was great and I loved it. And then I purchased your in-session course and found it really very helpful for me. The Desserts is what I call the warm-ups, are kind of bigger movements and stuff like that, but I call them desserts because the cool thing about it is they're like de-stressors. So if you take the word desserts, you have DE and then you have zerts, but zerts backwards is stress, so they're kind of like de-stressors. The in-session course is, I had a buddy of mine just film me do a complete session, right, of all the main points. And so I just start at the top and I keep going down. I don't really explain too much about what I'm doing. It's kind of like an overview of an entire session. I just don't go into detail on, how I position myself. The question is, can I perform those techniques on my wife's feet during pregnancy? So the Desserts plus In session, section 1, section 2, and section 3. If yes, are all those techniques considered safe? Any exception or something to avoid while massaging a pregnant lady? For example, pregnant women with swollen feet. Okay, so my answer is yes, you can do, all the techniques are safe. Section 3 is where the points that I pointed out at the very beginning are. Okay, so we have ankle points here, which is the ovaries, and then on the inside you have the uterus. So having all the information before now, you can choose to work on them or not. That is the only cautionary kind of points that you want to be concerned with, right? But other than that, all the desserts, the warm-ups are amazing because they are bigger movements, right? And you can, here's a couple here that I'm just showing you, and you can move like this. And what I would suggest working on here is these big movements using the foot kind of like a pump, right? Because you did mention swollen feet. So during pregnancy, it's really common to get swollen all the way around here. And something to check too, I wish that I had taken pictures of my wife's feet when she was pregnant, but there was actually a pronounced bump there, right? And so that was really interesting. I don't know why I didn't take pictures of it or video of it, but I didn't. But just check there for fun, right? Check. And you may notice a little bit of a change. But the ankle around here gets swollen. There's lots of fluid that can build up. The bones of the feet become tired. And one of the reasons why is because, you gain weight, right? Because now you have an extra, person inside that you're carrying around. And so there's more pressure down on, gravity, right? It's pulling you down more, and you're getting, sore muscles, joints in your feet get a little bit tender and things like that. Like, the pregnant body is absolutely amazing. There's so many things that happen, right? All the joints kind of loosen and get ready for the baby to come out. So you feel all this stuff all over your body, right? It's not just in your hip area. So working reflexology, I think, is an amazing thing. And I worked on my wife as much as I could, right? To help just feel comfortable, because it can be really uncomfortable to be pregnant, right? So avoiding to do reflexology altogether, for me, is not an option. I think it's really great to work. So just knowing the stuff that you can work and what would be beneficial, things like pumping, things like, really loosening up the whole foot, playing with every little, toe to make it move. If you do want to work on the ankle points, rather than an active stimulation, working that really getting in there and working, you can do more of a sedative approach, which is just kind of holding. So if there's lots of fluid around here, you can kind of just hold for a bit, move, hold, move for a bit, and kind of thinking always of moving fluid up the leg, right? So you can do kind of massage techniques. Also in the comment here, notice he didn't use any sort of massage oil. You don't recommend using it. So traditionally in reflexology, I don't use oil or lotion, except for at the end of the session when I do more of a massage, because I just think that is just a nice way to end. The reason why I don't is because I want to feel everything, because my thumbs are my eyes and ears, okay? So I want to feel and listen for anything, and if I have oil or massage lotion, I slip and I just don't hear and see as clearly. But in your case, I would definitely put on some kind of massage and then be pushing fluid up her leg, right, as you're working, right? So yeah, feel free to do that. Hopefully that answers your question. I have, in another comment I got, another user wondering about back pain and foot pain during pregnancy. And then in saying, I know that there are points we need to avoid. Otherwise, is it okay? So it's kind of a similar question. Lots of people have these like, oh yeah, there's these points that you're supposed to avoid. But other than that, is it okay to work on the feet? And yes, I believe it is. Okay. So you now know that the points are right there. And there's so many other things, like I said before, that you can work. And you don't have to be so concerned about and fearful of pushing a point and causing the world to explode. But to have caution and understanding for your client's needs and, filling out that intake form, like I said, you'll be more educated and more kind of caring to with your decision on to work or stimulate ankle points, right? But there's so much more you can work. There's so many other issues that come up when somebody's pregnant that need addressing, right? So hopefully this video has helped confuse you more maybe. But that is my take on it. Again, I do not specialize in, fertility and this sort of stuff. So anybody who does, please, if there is something that I'm really missing here and that it is quite, important to address these points or not touch them, please let me know in the comments below. And I would love to know more about it. But as I was doing research, I couldn't find any evidence-based that, yes or no to work on the points, right? There's sort of this gray area that's, been passed down through generations of reflexologists and acupuncturists and, centuries even, of that just to be cautious around these points, right? That's what I could get from it. And so it's up to you, right? To be the master of your points and what you need to work, well, with the client's permission, obviously. But anyway, there you go. Hopefully that was helpful. Until next time, this is Adam Thomas from Balancing Touch. Remember to keep those feet, especially the pregnant feet, happy. Bye-bye. If you're interested in learning more about reflexology, you can subscribe to the channel below. It's also very helpful to hit that like button and feel free to share it with anybody who you think might be interested in it. You can find my online courses, reflexology charts, and other reflexology goodies over on my website, which is balancingtouch.ca. Thank you so much for watching today, and if you have some more time, you can check out some other videos. Till next time, this is Adam Thomas from balancingtouch.ca. See you later.